This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, this WWE star is banged up again, and a WWE icon walks away from the company in a very, dare I say, epic, legendary fashion. Really makes this point be known. Also, we've got the retirement of John Cena. We have Saturday night's main event. We're going to take a look at that. We've got some solid promos coming from some of our favorite superstars, as well as the big reveal, who the masked person in the Vision was. We've got to take a look at all of that in WWE, as well as a monster return in AEW, and another fantastic match from this competitor. Help me break it all down, sort it all out. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
It's a new era. Last week's Saturday night's main event was elegant in some kind of way. John Cena has spoken. You must check it out. It's a 2-hour interview, podcast interview, which is really the essence of a podcast. Just two dudes sitting down, talking, sharing their thoughts, sharing their feelings. John Cena laid it out, and I can't wait to get your sense of it. It blew up the internet. Many people were wondering and debating, should John Cena have won the match? Absolutely not. And I do respect the fact that John Cena went out in a way that was, in a way, elegant. And he explained the truth finally about the why he went out with the big smile on his face. And it was pretty obvious if you really thought about it with the head on your brain, if you knew the man. And I can't wait to get your sense of what all the hullabaloo was about, the reactions, and what it really meant, the final match of John Cena.
Yeah, and look, I think overall, the card for the night, it felt very... It didn't feel like a regular show. It felt very much like a house show, or if you've ever been to a WWE live event, that's kind of the feel that it had. It felt a little bit light. It felt a little bit fun. I thought it was interesting getting the parts of the NXT roster up, the people who are going to be coming up next, getting them up on the roster and going head to head with some of WWE's best. The thing I thought was a little bit strange was you really didn't put any of them over. Like, they didn't win the matches. Like Sol Ruca did, and that was fantastic. We know she's going to be great. But you had other guys on this card, and to me, I felt like it was a bit of a missed opportunity, specifically with Obafemi, right? Like, I felt you could have done so much more with that match, and instead what you did was you went to something very simple, something very basic, and sometimes that's not bad, but in this case, I felt like you could have did a little bit more and given him a little bit more, especially since he's going to be a mega star. Like, he's going to be awesome. So why not use this opportunity to really highlight what he's going to be and what he is? I felt like there were some misses along the way.
Yeah, and it was simple. You have a feud with Cody and Drew McIntyre. What better way to add heat to a fuel than add a nuclear heat by having Drew potentially cost Cody Rhodes? Now, many people say maybe the ear injury when Oba tackled him into the table, his ear got split open. Maybe there was a pivot, but I don't care. You have Drew come in and you have him clothesline and clock the living crap out of Cody, and then Oba, I think, deserved. Look at come on, he's 26 years old. Look at the size of the man. When he walks in, you could like, oh my goodness, it's a Brock Lesnar style persona. Cody would have had no problem taking the 1, 2, 3. Oba, look, I get it. You're protecting both guys and you're opening up a feud, but Oba, Drew is going to be nice. Listen, get the guy up. Let's go. Nobody needs to wait further for Obafemi. He doesn't need to cook anymore. He's made, and everybody understands what this guy is. He's going to be a freak athlete, and I do think he's next. It's going to be Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, this ilk of class, and then it's going to be Obafemi and Braun Breaker. And I think with the next generation, I feel pretty comfortable. People are going to be interested.
Yeah, and look, I think you put it perfectly, right? Like, there was so much more you could have done with that match specifically, where you could have had, if you really want to highlight Obafemi, you really want to get Obafemi a win. This is something you could have done, right?
Right.
Because I think him walking away with a win would have been great. You have Drew come out, you have him attack Cody on the outside, and you have the ref not see it, and then you have Oba get the pin, and then Oba realizes what took place, and he doesn't want to win that way. So then he and Drew get into a little bit of a nose to nose, and there's just so much more you could have done, right? Like I feel like sometimes Hunter's booking is just so simplistic, and sometimes it's just not. It just misses the mark, and I feel like this is one of those. This specific match was one of those spots. Overall, like I said, I thought the Saturday Night Main Event card was good. It was light. It was entertaining. Like I said, it was nice to highlight other guys from NXT that are going to be making their way up soon. When you really get into the meat and the potatoes, what everybody wanted to see was the John Cena match, and I thought it was a good match. I thought the way it ended was good. To me, this was never the opponent that I wanted,
Right?
and that for me took a lot away from the match. This was not the guy who I wanted to see retire John Cena, and I get what they're doing because they're building to this whole Gunther Brock Lesnar thing because he's going to be the guy who's going to be retiring everybody. Fine, I get what you want to do. In this case, I felt like the way you built this to this match, the way everything went to this point, it really should have been somebody else who needed to be put over. Gunther doesn't need to be put over. He's already over. The guy's a made man. Like, he is super made. So John Cena tapping out, the guy who always says never give up, hustle, loyalty, respect, all those things. Him smiling while he was doing it, though a little bit weird. I get it. I don't necessarily like the optics of it, but I get it, right? If you really delve into the story, that's what he tried to tell you. He tried to tell you a story of his career arc. I get it. It all makes sense.
Right.
And I think that's the way you have to look at it. You can't look at this as just a match. You can't look at this as the bookend on what has not been a great build for the end of his career. You have to look at this as a whole arc of this man's journey, from the time he showed up as the prototype and challenged Kurt Angle to the time that he tapped out by Gunther, and him smiling and tapping out. He was at peace with the moment.
Right.
And I think it's apropos. I think it makes sense. I think it works. I think that was decent booking. Again, I didn't like much of this run. I didn't like the opponent, but I got it.
Yes.
And it was what it was, man. I don't know if you want John Cena to win. That's not how the business necessarily works. I know they did it with Sting and AEW. Okay, I get it, and I know it made everybody happy, but that's not how the business is done. The business is done with a guy who has been there and established everything, is on the way out. He's got to put the next guy over. That's what he did. He did the business. That's all that was.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing because look at the nuclear heat that Gunther got. And look, just in the end, I
don't know if did you see the videos of the people stalking him outside of the arena
heat.
And like yelling at his bus and throwing stuff?
That's heat.
Escorted out by police. That is heat. We haven't had heat like that since the 80s, bro.
Yeah.
That is heat.
MJF, you get the likes of Gunther, and that's fine. And look, in a way, I respect it because I do think that Gunther reminds Triple H of like Killer Kowalski, the Bruno Sammartinos. He reminds people of like the 1970s origins of wrestling, the Ring General. And so I respect it. And I know people didn't like it, but it's the perfect opponent. I mean, it's the perfect. You have a face in John Cena and you have an ultimate heel and you made him even more of a star. Gunther will have something forever. It's just the way it is. And Triple H understands it. And people got all mad when they saw Triple H laughing afterwards. John Cena said something to him, and I'm sure what he said to him was, "Oh shit, I must be a terrible booker. I'm sorry, man, I fucked you." And Triple H is laughing. Look, in the end, I thought that the best way to make a pivot was Triple H needed to become a heel character. Like Triple H got nuclear heat. Like, how could you do this to us? I think you have it in your hand. The Mr. McMahon, Mr. Triple H. Paul, the Mr. Paul character, like, listen, guys, if you don't pipe down, I'm going to raise your ticket prices. Like, lean into it a little bit, but I don't think he wants to do that. But it's there.
The deal. When he came out to address the crowd after the event, they were screaming, "You fucked up!" Like, they were upset. Those people were so mad in that arena. They were mad at Triple H. They were mad at Gunther. Yeah. Like, you're absolutely right. There's another missed opportunity. Like, McMahon read the room correctly with the Montreal Screwjob and was and then that's what kicked off an era of wrestling. And like, I get if you don't want to lean into that and you don't want to do that. I understand. You don't want to be that involved. I understand.
But you got now you have to do it with Gunther. Gunther has to
Yeah.
be even bigger. And I love the first entrance that he had was simple. I made John tap like a bitch, which I thought was
called him a
great.
bitch, yeah.
That was awesome. And I think Gunther's going to do the job just perfectly. He will embrace the nuclear heat. And unfortunately, yeah, he's going to end Brock Lesnar, but I think he's also going to end AJ Styles, which sucks. But I want to say this just on the totality because I listened to the entire Cody Rhodes podcast. I've listened to John Cena's, and now we are on a streak of like 19 days of trying to invite John Cena to a podcast. But he said he's taking like the next 3 weeks off. He's probably like going to send me a cease and desist, like stop messaging me. But it's funny. But in the end, here's a total picture. This is a deeply thoughtful man. He thought about the run and he thought about telling this story of redemption and kind of like this. His arc. This arc was the journey of life. You go through things, you make your mistakes, you come to terms and come to grips with your mistakes. You have your friends turn you around when you're bad. That's fine. But in the end, this is wrestling. It's. I know he told a story and a deeply philosophical story, but there was an element that this is a carnival. Like this is a carnival bar, like carnival circus, and I think part of me missed that. Like and I think part of the carnival circus would have been if The Rock was there. He did say, "Look, we just pivot." He's like, "Okay, he's here, great. If he's not here, great." But in the end, there is a little bit of a dismissal of the fans really wanted the heel run to be a big part of it. Like go through, be a heel character. But in the end, I think it cheapened it. Even if it was just a moment, even if that was the intention was, hey, we want, like, I don't think that was the phrase you wanted to reveal publicly because it meant something to us. Like we liked that. That was something that was going to make us invested was be a heel character. Instead, it was not a character. It was a aspect of a personality that was, hey, I'm willing to tap into some anger I had in the wrestling business. That's fine. And it's deeply philosophical. But in the end,
Yeah.
I processed it, and when I was listening to the podcast, I just said, wow, this is a serious-ass grown man, a businessman, trying to put himself in the role of a wrestler, telling stories. And that's what it is. Deeply, he tried to, he overanalyzed every aspect of a story to write it, deeply invested, I think too much so, where I just think that John Cena needed, hey, come in, we'll tell you. I think that's where the creative messed up is that John Cena had a lot of input in this and deeply, deeply philosophical of what every match would mean and how it would portray all this kind of stuff. I just felt like, you know what? Hey, we can pivot from a heel character to say, okay, stop with the philosophical stuff. You're a bad dude. And it's not about ripping the fans. It's about when you say killing the business, it's about, hey, we're going to hurt some of the stars that we think are going to be successful. And I just think that could have been pivoted in another way. But John Cena, in the end, great career. If you want to go out, John Cena put together a career where he said, okay, I made my company money. I drew a lot of attention. I drew a lot of debate. And in a simple sleeper hold, I tap out and the whole world debates it. In the end, that's what a wrestler does. And he kept saying it. The number one thing in wrestling is create noise. That's the thing you do is you create money, you create noise, you make your company happy, and you don't even have to be the best wrestler in the world. And the number one thing that I thought was really elegant was Michael Cole saying, hey, tonight professional wrestling wins out over sports entertainment. That was subtle, but that was beautiful.
That was.
In a beautiful.
That was such a nice little.
Yes.
Perfect. Everybody, a lot of people shit on Michael Cole, and I think it is finally turning around. He adds just the right spice
for the story,
to the show to add the flavor, to really help get stuff over. He is so good at his job. And I know everybody shit on him for such a long time because of different things, but he has weathered it, and he has helped develop guys like McAfee, helped develop guys like Corey Graves, helped develop guys like Tessitore.
Yes.
He has done a fantastic job in his role.
Yes.
So he is it was, like you said,
elegant.
Was just perfect. Yes, elegant.
And I want to say that just go sit and enjoy it. It's 2 hours. It's funny in that John Cena and Cody Rhodes are doing promos. They're doing commercials. They're doing company work while talking. But in the end, that is the essence of a podcast. It's two dudes just catching up. And John Cena said, listen, I just came here. We planned for an hour, but we went an hour and 45 because I just miss my friend. I miss my dog. I want to talk to him. And Cody gets all choked up. In the end, if you want to know why people who love podcasts do them, that's really what it's about. It's about deeply connecting. I mean, there are commercials, but longer form discussions in which people can share their thoughts, share their reasons, share their whys, share like, yeah, John Cena's like, yeah, I know you guys didn't really like some of this stuff, but hey, I'm an artist. I threw it out there on a platform, and I'm humble enough to go, hey, if you liked it, great. If you didn't like it, great. I lived up to my own standards, and I feel like I left the company way better than what it was. Cody, it was a passing of the torch live on a podcast. It was sweet. It was just sweet and simple, and in the end, ends with a hug. And I do think too, listen, John Cena's done in the ring, but Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, pop his music, let these people cheer the man, give it a couple weeks, go on vacation, but let this man be around 4 or 5 times a year. Let us celebrate him. Just walking down to the ring, talking, he could just be kind of like the moral compass. Just come in, do a promo 4 or 5 times a year, talk about what he's seeing, get people talking. He could just drop a little nugget here and there, a little eggs here and there. That people be like, "What's he talking about?" And that would be great. I think that John Cena still will be around that company. He's got a 5-year ambassadorship deal. I just hope we see him on camera. I don't need to see him in the ring. Clearly, he did that. But let's go moving forward. I think John Cena can be a real asset, and you're going to see it, man. He's going to pour so much story knowledge into all these cats. Oh, my God. Oba Femi, Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, Cody Rhodes. My God, guys, this next generation is going to be good. And in the end, you're not going to like some things, but I do think you will get a lot of good stories from what John Cena imparts on these kids.
You know, I think the one thing that he could pass on to the rest, that he's done better than anybody else, than you go back to the 80s, 70s, 60s, 2000s. Like you just go back in time. The one thing he did better than anybody else was once he figured out his character and figured out himself, he was so comfortable in his own skin in the ring.
Right.
He never got rattled.
Right.
You know, the crowd would be booing him, and it was the reaction that was not expected. And he just took it. He just took it and he rolled with it. Or the crowd would be just cheering him, and he maybe was expecting a boo, and he embraced it. The way that he was able to pivot and the way he was able to ebb and flow with the crowd and then turn that into something was special. The way he was able to interact with the crowd was special. If he can pass that on to the next generation, that in and of itself will be special. So it was a good way to cap an outstanding career. He's one of the best. I know he's on my Mount Rushmore. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I know his in-ring work, questionable and a lot to debate. I think he's one of the best at the business with a lot of what he's done.
Real fast. And I wrote this down too, because we all saw John Cena, the doctor of thugonomics, the young man. And now you see him as a corporate guy. Do you think he's inauthentic? Do you think the origin of the John Cena sucks is that a portion of the fans were like, dude, why are you acting all corporate? We know that you got a little bit of that thug in you. Like he does. Like, look, he's a guy that is a little bit more Triple H than Vince McMahon. But he portrayed himself like Vince McMahon. Like he portrayed himself like, I am this corporate. I want everybody in line, and I want everybody to know that, look, it's all about the business. It's all about the fact that whatever you fans think is great, I love it. Come support the audience, but we're just going to give you a show that you really like. It's like, bro, come on. Like, take the suit off. Let loose a little bit. He did let loose with the AJ Styles, but then apologize for it. Like, dude, you're John Cena. You think they're going to say to you, listen, John, you cannot have this kind of situation with your entrances, and you cannot derail the show. The dude picked up the cameraman's camera and was like, hey, I'm going to show you. I feel like a part of me just, it was overdone. Like he's a butt kisser. Like, oh my God. And he's portraying it so bad. Like I'm going to tell everybody that this is the way you got to kind of work and get everything in order, and don't complain about everything. Just go show everybody what you're about. It was just a little bit overcooked on the professionalism. Like, listen, be yourself. I do think that is now John Cena, but I just needed a little bit more of the regular dude. Like, just like, and it comes in, but he portrays himself as so corporate. I could see where fans are like, dude, is this really you, or just some guy trying to put on this show so that you can get and appear to be this guy? Because, you know, we did see a little of your personality on Total Divas, and it wasn't that great. You're a little bit OCD, you're a little bit closed off, a little bit pushy, a little bit anal, and I just think that a lot of it has that corporate feel of like, this is what we took a guy that goes, man, we can make money on you.
He's too polished.
Polished. Beautiful word. Too polished.
That's the problem. He's too polished.
Yes.
If you've ever seen an interview with him when he goes on
yes.
Jimmy Kimmel, or he goes on
God.
Who's the other guy? The guy who's really funny, does all the music bits.
Jimmy Fallon.
SNL. Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
So you ever see him like when he goes on those, he if you've ever listened to him, he is dirty. Like he is foul. He's full of a lot of dirty jokes. He loves dick jokes.
He's one of the boys.
Kind of jokes.
He's one of the boys.
And you can tell because he'll slip little things in. And then he comes off as very buttoned up, very suit and tie, and then he'll slip this in. And it's like,
right.
There's so many facets to him, but he is so polished. His appearance and the way he delivers stuff. Even if you hear the way he speaks, he's just too measured.
Yes.
And I think that is what comes off as inauthentic about him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we know you're a much quicker wit. We know you're a much smarter guy. And you just sometimes seem very robotic. And it's trying to get rid of that roboticism that he has about him. That I think is the one thing that has kind of kept people from embracing him the way that I feel like they should have embraced him. But I totally get what you're saying. He's polished. Very polished. He's corporate. Very measured in everything he says. And to me, watching him do some of those interviews is painful because I know he's a very funny guy. Yeah. You get him comfortable and you get him in his setting.
Oh yeah,
he just lets it loose, man. And you're just like, oh my god, he's vulgar. Like
he's
vulgar.
He's a dude. He's a musclehead. But I always wrestle with that because I think you and I may be in the same boat. Like you're in a corporate world, but you have this natural kind of guy mentality that you just want to be yourself. But in the end, you can't kind of swing it out there a lot of times in the corporate world. And it's always interesting that little bit of blend of professionalism versus, dude, you're a professional wrestler. Like you're in a carnival, like, putting on a suit and talking like that, like deeply philosophical, deeply company based, deeply, deeply polished. It was interesting, but I respect it because he plays it well and he deserves the time off. 48 years old, in good health. Thank you for all the work you did for our entertainment, man. And he left the company better than it was. He definitely left it making money, a whole store for yourself. Come to the John Cena store. come to the John Cena store. And he actually, free advice that he said in the end that I do think works for people. In a setting that if you work for somebody and you take $1 or $2 from the company, if you give them back 10, you'll always be employed. Everybody will always respect you because you made the company money, and that's what he did. He's like, all right, make me some money, and then I'll give you, I'll pay it back in spades, and that's what he did. Even though he was polished, ultimate professional in the sense of he gave to the business what it was meant to be. Not the best wrestler, but the best sports entertainer that you could see in this era, and it's sad, but this new era was left better. And if Cody Rhodes is the epitome of that, the WWE will be in good shape.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you 100%. We've already talked a little bit about the Gunther promo.
Yep.
CM Punk comes out, cuts a promo on Monday Night Raw as well, where he basically calls out Braun Breaker, calls out Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, so much so that Scott Steiner ends up responding online. I thought it was a good promo. End of the night, CM Punk eats his own words as Braun Breaker basically spears him through the canvas. What did you make of the CM Punk promo where he calls out Rick and Scott Steiner in it?
Epic. I thought it was great. I love the Steiner. Every time there's something about the Steiner math that just reminds people of hilarity because it was so iconic, just the way he delivered
Steiner
it.
math was great.
For those that don't know, when he was in TNA, Steiner did a promo where he just threw out numbers that made no sense. And then you get, the characters in the scene going, wait, trying to understand what he was saying, but he kept going on about these numbers that made literally no sense. But it was delivered and became iconic because it was just so good in the fact that it kind of like, yeah, it's wrestling. He's like, I'm better than everybody, but if you split all these halves, I'm still better than everybody. And I thought it was great because it tied into how they ended it as well. So CM Punk has a total package. You like his character now. You like the way he is. And I'm really satisfied with how things are going with CM Punk. And the true definition, I think, of interest to me is I wouldn't be upset if CM Punk won. I wouldn't be upset if Braun Breaker won. I just want to see the match.
Well, the thing that led to Braun Breaker being able to spear the living hell out of CM Punk in the middle of the ring was the masked man from the Vision. That was the guy that CM Punk came down and helped chase off, who ended up hitting a stomp on Rey Mysterio. We get the big reveal in the crowd. It's Austin Theory. It's who we talked about. It's who we thought it was. Shaved head, goatee. My wife seen him and she was like, where's he been? What's been going on with him? It was like he was forgotten about a little bit. Ends up making his big reveal. And I think you put it best. You said the crowd went mild.
I can't take credit. Kenny and I in the chat were like, oh, because listen, I would have pivoted. We said it last week on the wrestling podcast. They should have went Ricky Saint. They should have just pivoted. I know it made sense for Austin Theory, but it just got too predictable. Like, it's Theory. Everybody knows it. Like, you have to swerve it. You have to make it somebody else. You brought up another person as well that was really great, and I just
Montez Ford.
Yeah, Montez Ford.
Was rumored
I thought, I think Austin Theory could have been debuted as just. I thought it was going to be me. You guys told me. You lied to me. You have him run in the celebration, but listen, they did it. But it made sense. We spoke on it that it was a taping, and again, this is something where wrestling fans get tired. It was the end of the night, like 5 hours in, and the crowd's like. And I think too that I was telling you and Kenny, they should have just piped in noise, like make it feel bigger. It didn't feel big. Like he's standing there waiting for some kind of reaction, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we saw Austin Theory, bro. We already knew." Just kind of.
That's exactly what it felt like.
It was like, it's Austin Theory. We knew this already, bro. The whole world, every dirt sheet was like, "It's Austin Theory. It's Austin." And that's what my reaction was like. I would have kept waiting. Like, I listen. I know people say the coach show with Vince Russo does a great job about knowing the timing of things. And they said after 2 weeks, nowadays in this ADHD world, after 2 weeks, people stop caring. I was like, damn, 2 weeks. I would have been interested to keep it going. Go to WrestleMania. Keep it going for a long time. Have this character be a long-standing thing. They were like, no, man, the ADHD. They were like, after a week, you got the audience hooked. They were like, you should have paid it off the next week. I was like, damn, that's a lot of fast-paced booking. But yeah, they went mid, and it's interesting. He's got a new look, but moving forward, he's got it. This is it. This is his next run. This is his character change. If he doesn't showcase that he can get over, time to cut bait.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is a guy who has tried, and they've tried multiple things with him. He's been a part of multiple factions. When you really start going through the Austin Theory faction list, it's unreal how many people he has been paired up with. If you can't get over here and they can't make it work, it might be time to go. You might need to go back to the indies. You might need to go to AEW and reinvent yourself. You've seen it with a guy like Drew McIntyre who went to TNA, and he came back even better than before. He's got a look, and he can cut a decent promo. You just got to see if you can get it all to work. Speaking of decent promos, I think the big thing on SmackDown was Cody Rhodes' promo. Cody Rhodes cut a very cocky promo on Nick Aldis where it left me saying out loud, this might be the footwork for a heel turn later on. It felt very, very cocksure of himself. Basically telling Nick Aldis that Nick Aldis works for him. He's the guy who set the wrestling world on fire with a tweet. He's the guy who has done this and done that, and Nick Aldis works for him. I wanted to get your thoughts because he's now embroiled in a feud with Drew McIntyre, and it is one of those things where now there are some parameters placed on Cody Rhodes where if he and Drew McIntyre get into a fight prior to their upcoming match, he'll be stripped of his belt. Cody obviously not happy about it. So is this just an edgy face promo where he's frustrated by what's going on, or is this the groundwork for what will be a later heel turn?
I do think.
What do you think?
I do think that they are laying the groundwork for a heel turn. Doesn't that make sense nowadays?
It feels like it, man. It feels
right.
like even like the way he carries himself now, and sometimes the way he dresses. Remember, he used to come out very suited and booted, and now what you're seeing him in a lot more jumpsuits, more shirts with sleeves cut off. It to me is feeling a little bit more like it is that slow moving towards the heel side, and less away from the very, again, polished, measured, corporate Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it feels like WrestleMania might be a time. It also feels like, you know what, maybe you introduced the Rock not being there is great, but it is not being there, it puts a wrinkle in it. But you feel like the Rock is like the puppet holder of heel turns. Do you try it again? But in the end, okay.
I'm gonna tell you no. I don't want to see the Rock ever again.
I know, but you could play that. You have to. It will be brought up. You can't just leave that hanging.
I love John Cena. He helped ruin that whole arc for no good reason.
But yeah, no, Cody Rhodes will still be there and wrestle. But it's gonna happen. But in the end, I do think that there is a heel in there, and there's a story to tell. But in the end, the reason why it's not is because there's money being printed out the ass for John Cena, for Cody Rhodes on the level of John Cena.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He literally is, like you said, it's the passing of the torch. He is now the face of WWE. Whether anybody likes it or not, he is the face of WWE. The other thing that was huge coming out of WWE, and I wanted to see if you've seen this or not. I know you watch NXT now and again. You watch it much more than I watch it, and you're much more engrossed in what goes on with NXT more than I am. We had a match between Blake Monroe and Thea Hale, and there was a botch. It was a massive botch. The championship changed hands on the botch. Blake Monroe ends up losing her title to Thea Hale. And you could tell by the very end, they end up playing Blake Monroe's music, and they had it all queued up for it. Blake Monroe, it looks stunned and shocked. Thea Hale the same way as she's holding on to a title like I just won, like questioning out loud. There was a pin, and Blake Monroe ends up getting her hand up, but not necessarily her shoulder. And the referee does what the referee's instructed to do. You count 1, 2, 3. He counted 1, 2, 3. It's messed up a lot of creative because they were doing a lot of taping for their shows because of Christmas and New Year's. And they had to basically pivot hard and rewrite a lot of stuff, and even stuff in that show, because this was one of the early matches of the show, of the night. And it kind of had a lot of reverberating effects throughout this program and the upcoming programs that were taped. I wanted to know what your thoughts were on Blake Monroe losing to Thea Hale and just the botch in general, if you've seen it. I'll let you know this. I am a fan of Thea Hale. I think Thea Hale is great. I think she's going to be fantastic. Obviously needs more work, but I think she's going to be really, really good. I think she's got a good look. I think she's got a good personality. I think she's a lot of fun. I don't know if she'll ever be to that level of, say, a Charlotte or a Becky, but I think she is a very talented wrestler who has a very bright future and has a huge ceiling. And I was pumped that she won. I just think it's messed up the way that she won. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious because I'm a little bit of a different boat. I feel like, yeah, no, I think they put it out there that it was a botch, but I feel like that was the way they wanted to do it. It feels like a botch, but these officials, man, I don't know, man. I feel like, how do you, like, I think the easiest thing in wrestling is to get your shoulder up, and I think the easiest thing for an official is to stop counting. Like, I know it was bad when it happened in the Nia Jax match, and the official really got reamed. But listen, if it was a botch, in the end, it's not a big problem. I do think that WWE can pivot really fast and tell stories. And then, look, it's not like the show ends. You can just in 2 weeks put it back on her. So it's a crazy finish. It gets people talking. I was like, oh, that's a little bit it was a little bit unique, but we'll see what happens moving forward as a result of it.
I mean, we hardly ever talk about NXT in this program, and it made its way to the rundown. So
yes, you're very true.
Right. It's got people talking. So
yes,
it's got us talking at least
for sure.
Let's transition to AEW here. So I've got a bit of an issue with the 6-man tag match between the Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Okada, Takeshita, and the Beast Mordos. And look, I know the big story in this wrestling match is Okada and Takeshita. I realize that. I know that's what we're building to. I know that's what the big deal is here. But wrapped up in this match, you've got a ton of history between a guy like Omega and Okada. And I just feel like if I'm booking this match, if I'm putting this together, I'm paying this off two ways. I'm going to have Okada and Takeshita end up doing what they did at the end of the match, where they end up interfering with each other and they end up losing the match because of each other. I'm going to do that. That's fine. But I'm going to keep Kenny Omega and I'm going to keep Okada away from each other for as long as possible. That way, when they finally do meet in the middle of the ring, the entire place blows. The pop is massive. Instead, what you had was you had these guys wrestling on the outside. You had these guys grabbing and throwing each other into the ropes. You had these guys just wrestling a basic match. And I know that maybe helps add to the actual ongoing story, but I feel like you could have paid this off two ways and it would have been much better for the crowd. It would have been a much better match. What did you make of Omega and Okada just essentially wrestling a very casual tag match with each other when there's all that history they could have pulled from?
That was my note, was why did they de-emphasize Omega Okada? That was my word, de-emphasize. It's important. It's WrestleMania-esque. And unfortunately, my next question was, my answer to that always, when I put 2-3 question marks, Tony Khan. He's like, let's just throw him in a match. It's not. This is the difference. Is this? It's a philosophical difference where WWE would make money on it. Cause Stone Cold Steve Austin would have quit on AEW 15 times in his run there. He'd be like, you just want me to go in a match with Okada? Stone Cold got so pissed off that he's like, there's money here with me and Brock. You just want me to go out here, Vince, on a Monday and fall down? Dude, Hulk Hogan was the same way. They're like, wait a minute, because these wrestlers, if they care about money and prestige and storytelling, they're like, wait a minute. Hulk Hogan got a lot of criticisms for his actions, but he always wanted what was good for business, and what was good for him was also good for the company. And they're like, Omega, Okada, 6-man tag, go out there and act like it's a random Wednesday. No, these things are special. And the way I wrote it down is Dynamite is at the level, and it's not disrespectful, but that's what it is. It's a WCW Saturday night. That's all it is. And what you and I and the whole wrestling world want is you can raise it to the level of a Nitro if you just told a story. Like, just set up the matches, say, hey, and you keep guys away from each other. Omega Okada is always pay-per-view worthy based on the history, but you've cheapened it because you just want to throw them out there on a show like Superstars, like WCW Saturday Night, and in the end, you have programming, and that's your marquee show. And here's the biggest problem, cuz, and in the end, here's the answer. Warner Brothers gave them $150 million every year. The check is in the bank. So now you don't have to fight for it anymore. When they have to fight for it is in 2027 when the deal comes up. And that's what sucks when you get the money early. I would never structure a deal that way with a wrestling company. It would be incentive based. Hey, get me 2 million rating, you get this much. Get me a 5 million rating, you get this much. I'm pretty sure the stories would change pretty quickly, and Tony Khan would start caring about stories where he'd say, "Yeah, you get the full capability of 125 million, but I'm going to need about 3-4 million viewers every single week. I'm going to need some markers here." Otherwise, these companies are bleeding money. This is why these television companies lose money, is they give these promoters a wad of cash, and they're like, great, next Wednesday it's going to be, let's have Hangman Page fight Will Ospreay. See you next week. And you're like, wait, you could have a story here. Nope, see you next week. And unfortunately, cuz we have to accept it, Tony Khan is presenting an alternative. Unfortunately, the alternative is something that one aspect leaves out something that we all like, telling some kind of story. Nope. Here's the match I'm going to do. And so now my resolution for 2026 is we are not going to use the word story with AEW. It's, did I like the match? Did I not like the match? I like the match. And so that's what it is.
Yeah. And look, that is essentially what this felt like, because something that I'm going to highlight a little bit later on was another standout match. And it just feels like you get a lot of matches. And I think we've got a spectacular match building. It'll be interesting to see how the story is built, like you're talking, as MJF makes a return, jumps immediately into the world title picture, cashes in his Casino Gauntlet contract to set up a 4-way at World's End between Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Page, and now MJF. I thought this promo with these 4 guys was incredible. And now these are the guys who really carry this company. These are the best in this company. So it only makes sense that it's absolutely awesome. But all these guys leaned into little bits and pieces of their past. And I thought it was great. You had Swerve talking about leaving a boot print like Joe's fake tattoo from when he was in TNA. You had MJF talking about Swerve twerking for top dollar when he was in WWE. You had a lot of little subtle nuances, right? If you pay attention to these guys' stories, you know all these things. And I thought it was really, really well done. I think MJF coming back, I think MJF looks great. Cut his hair a little bit different. He's got a beard. Obviously, he is a stud. The guy is a premium player. I thought this was so well done, and I'm interested in this match. I wanted to get your thoughts on how MJF returned. I wanted to get your thoughts on the promo segment as a whole, because I thought this was chef's kiss. This was A1 day one.
Oh, he eviscerated everybody. And many people are just like, this dude came in here like, I'm the biggest, baddest dude on the planet. And more, it's a simple analogy. He is morphing into Ric Flair in the best way possible. And it's in a great way, because I love hearing how the crowd cheers when he comes out. And it's just amazing. He's got a nice pop, the way they did it was perfectly. The sound was perfect, where you could hear the most important beat is that first beat, and sometimes the crowd will drown it out. But when I go to listen to AEW videos, if I can hear that first, dun, it's perfect. And he came out looking like an OG money superstar. He's over, but in the end, what sucks, cause is, and I'm hoping in 2026 it changes. My next note was, man, this guy would be sweet in WWE. He could do the Miz first. He could come right out. He'd be over. Like, the problem is he's undersized. So could you imagine him? Against, I think the great match I want to see is him and Braun Breaker. But he's undersized a little bit. But I don't care. Like, he'd have a good personality, and he just would be a mega like, he's a star. But I feel like he's the guy that could be like the Miz that could carry a company on one side. And I hope that, he's still so young. He's not even 30 yet. So maybe when he turns 30, 31, some of the dollars go his way. And hopefully he has one run in WWE, but not when he's 50. So we'll see. But I mean, listen, he came back. It's a nice run, baby. Let's go. MJF's back, baby.
Yeah, MJF is back. Like I said, this is going to be a fun build here as we over the next week. It's crazy how quickly World's End is coming up here. Again, back to your point. AEW doesn't do a fantastic job of building stories. We're a week away from a monster match between MJF, Samoa Joe, Hangman Page, and Swerve Strickland. What? So it just feels like you could have done a little bit more. Something I do want to highlight. 2 weeks in a row. Kyle Fletcher, standout match. One of the best wrestlers in this company. The guy does a fantastic job in the ring. I just want to tip my hat to Kyle Fletcher. This time he lost to Pac. I thought he did a really, really, really good job. I wanted to get your thoughts on Kyle Fletcher. And again, what he's bringing to the table. We talked about this guy being the future of this company. And I think each and every week he goes out there, lays it on the line, and he shows it. And he showed it this time against Pac, even though he took the L.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Fletcher, he's bound. If you start giving people awards, his stock is rising in our stock watch. Pac, I can't wait to see what he can do in 2026. Kind of a steady player, somebody that can also take the next step. But I thought this match was one of the matches I really did like on Dynamite.
Yeah, I thought this was a real highlight for the show. Anything else from the world of wrestling this week that you wanted to get into before we get to our show of the week?
Listen, I felt like, give credit where credit's due. There are some mid-card guys that you still are paying attention to. Damian Priest, I think, can get back into things. Drew McIntyre. I'm definitely interested in what Carmelo Hayes is going to bring in the next coming years. The Miz, and listen, man, the one thing we didn't highlight, it was perfect because it was rumored and we all wanted to see it. The Joe Hendry Miz section tied things together in a beautiful kind of way on Saturday night's main event. When the Miz comes out, everyone thought it was like, wait, they just skipped Gunther's entrance? And he comes in and then they pan to him. It was just elegant. And then he comes out and they're like, wait a minute, there's a name in this container and it's Joe Hendry. He comes out. I popped. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I would have loved to have seen Joe Hendry and John Cena's paths cross, but he was on the show. And that was, and to me, my only note from, again, Saturday night's main event is they got to do that show every year end. The best 3-4 NXT, give them a carrot. And John Cena said it. Let them hear the noise. You know how motivating that is? Let Joe Hendry come out on the biggest show of the year. It's not a house show. It's this is a assessment show. This is hey, we all can talk about it. Who's going to be on that final show of the year? Who's going to be on that big match? Sol Roca, Bailey. Who's it going to be? Is it Ricky Saints? Is it going to be one of the Italian dudes? Who's going to be on it next year and be featured in a match? Could you imagine next year Braun Breaker against one of these dudes that comes up from NXT? It would be amazing. You got to do it every year. Hopefully that's the legacy, is the last Saturday night's main event is the NXT stars versus the established stars in an exhibition, and maybe one guy gets to go out or some special feature for a main eventer. It was beautiful. Just keep doing it. I hope they make it a staple, and I don't know, we got to get somebody to make some noise, make it a staple every single year.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. It's a lot of fun, and it makes for a very impactful show, and it's something that like you said, you can add to and you can build upon. So, what was your show of the week this week?
Oh, it was Raw. I just thought that ending with Braun Breaker. You mentioned my family again. You're not going to walk, punk. Oh, it was good, Braun Breaker. And then even though the crowd did go mid, you did get a payoff, and I thought it was the show of the week.
I agree with you 100%. I think it was Raw. There's just too much there, right? Like it wasn't necessarily the reveal that I guess we wanted. It was what we knew, and I think that might have been the problem, right? If we didn't know about this, it might have been a little bit different. But the end of the show with Braun Breaker, I thought was absolutely fantastic. It'll be interesting next week. Austin Theory's they're already doing some taping. Some stuff's already come out. Austin Theory's got some new gear. Paul Heyman's in the background. We'll see how this story evolves and transpires. You ready for some news and notes this week?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made the list?
This WWE star is banged up again. JD McDonough took to his Instagram story to share a photo of himself in a hospital bed, seemingly prepped for surgery. McDonough noted that it's time for him to get put back together, writing, "Been working through some stuff for the last few months, but now it's time to pump the brakes and get put back together. Won't be long, be right back." WWE star is expected to be out for several weeks to recover from an unknown injury. In the picture he showed, it looked as though it was a hand or a wrist injury, possibly a thumb injury. It was something to his hand that they had to go and repair. Now, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion last wrestled on November 24th edition of Raw, losing to Rey Mysterio in singles action. This was off the backs of two notable matches, with McDonough unsuccessfully challenging for Dragunov's U.S. Championship on November 21st SmackDown episode, and teaming with Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio against John Cena, Rey Mysterio, and Sheamus in Cena's third to last ever match on November 17th Monday Night Raw. And finally, we've got some big news, weird news, impactful news. A WWE legend resigns from the company. Wrestling icon Mick Foley announced Tuesday that he officially cut ties with the WWE because of the company's ongoing support of President Donald Trump, following Trump's distasteful tweet regarding the death of legendary actor and director Rob Reiner. Foley posted on Instagram explaining his reason for walking away from WWE, saying, "I no longer wish to represent a company that coddles a man so seemingly void of compassion as he marches our country towards autocracy. I can't say the word." Foley wrote, "Last night I informed WWE Talent Relations that I would not be making any appearances for the company as long as this man remains in office. Additionally, I will not be signing a new Legends deal when my current one expires in June. I love WWE, will always treasure my time with them, and I am deeply appreciative for all the opportunities they afforded me. But in the words of Popeye the Sailor, I stands for all I can stands, and I can't stands for no more." Foley was one of the central performers who helped shape WWE's Attitude Era and has a ton of iconic matches for multiple wrestling organizations around the world. Mick Foley has been very outspoken about differences with Donald Trump. And I think this has just been, he's been pushed to his breaking point. So again, WWE and the family members that run WWE are very much involved in this administration's front office. So it's one of those things where he's on the complete opposite side of them. So it's just easier for him to walk away. Politics impacting wrestling again. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my brother.
Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRS0Z. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Let us know what you think. If you were like Ariel Helwani, the coach, Vince Russo, do you feel like, you know what, people paid, there is a new factor if you're going to pay $1,000. Do you think that John Cena should have won the match? Should everybody just suspended disbelief? And look, you could have got Gunther over in another different way. It's interesting. It's an interesting debate because it's one in which you could entertain a lot of different factors and facets with it. So let us know. It's an interesting debate. John Cena's legacy will not end. We now see John Cena, and it was beautiful. But now, quickly, we move forward to the Royal Rumble, the path to the new year. And if you want to enjoy, WWE's coming to town, I think Tuesday. LCS LCA. Enjoy yourself some holiday. I don't know if you got to drop $200 a ticket, but if you want to go enjoy it. WWE's coming to town. House shows tend to be a little bit fun, so we'll see how that all plays out moving forward, and we'll recap it. Whatever happens at LCA, you can follow. There's a WWE Detroit Twitter account. It's really good, and check them out. I can't wait to break it all down next week on the holiday edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. You can't see me. Out.